With an almost 50% black population, it's no surprise that Atlanta is one of the modern hubs of America's hip-hop scene. Industry icons like Childish Gambino, whose show Atlanta is set in and filmed in the area of the city they grew up in, and the rap trio Migos were all brought into the city's rich music culture. These days, multi-millionaire rappers are dipping their toes into Atlanta politics, but not everyone's happy about it. First up, the controversy over the city council bill. It's no secret that Atlanta's nightlife is the lifeblood of the city's culture, with a rich history of rap groups performing at famous establishments like Blue Flame and Magic City. Places like these are referenced in countless hip-hop songs and are basically musical hubs where all the geniuses of the genre can gather. Keeping that in mind, no wonder the City Hall bill, wherein venues where violence occurs frequently can be temporarily shut down, got the rap community so riled up. The bill comes as a response to growing levels of violence in the city since 2019, with 2022 on track to be the worst year so far. Atlanta's rap community, including artists like 2 Chainz and Killer Mike, have vocally spoken out against the bill, claiming that not only was this an attack on Atlanta's black culture, but was also going to put small business and club owners out of business. Basically, they believe the bill would lead to gentrification and the erasure of black culture, which they want to avoid at all costs. Following up, how do city officials feel about this new wave of political rappers? In a nutshell, city officials have been less than pleased by the efforts of local rappers to prevent the passing of the bill. For one, Nseo Font, CEO of the New Georgia Project, pointed out that most rappers like 2 Chainz were using the city like real estate agents, given their vested interest as owners of numerous businesses throughout the city. The issue lies in the fact that hip-hop and Atlanta culture and politics have been so intertwined for years that it's become nearly impossible to set these two facets apart, especially when you consider just how much money hip-hop artists have poured into the nightclubs, bars, barbershops, and various other small businesses in the city. Because they have such a vested interest in the city and its development, they also have a lot of influence over voter bases. Newly elected Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens is clearly aware of the influence hip-hop has had on the city, telling Rolling Stone how he appreciates industry moguls acting as standard bearers of Atlanta culture, but that conversations on violence were multifaceted and difficult to discuss clearly. Dickens is clearly trying to put Atlanta on the cultural map, with its selection as the host part of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, so it'll be interesting to see how he handles this dicey situation. Next, the violence in the Atlanta nightclub scene. As time goes on, gun violence is slowly starting to become an accepted yet feared aspect of Atlanta's nightlife, as the spike in violence since the pandemic has been the 4th largest out of the big cities. In fact, Atlanta's even pulled ahead of Chicago in terms of violence per capita. Most incidents of gun violence have taken place in the city's downtown tourist district, one of the hubs of the city's nightlife. In fact, violence is most likely to occur from incidents within nightclubs, and particularly between aspiring rappers. An example of one hub for shooting-related incidents was the Encore Bar, a hookah lounge across an aquarium that was the site of 171 emergency calls in the span of 2 years. One shooting incident even led to a dolphin tank in the aquarium getting a brand new hole in it. A year later, the city council was able to get the lounge to shut down. The violence has spread throughout the high-end district, with the famous Lenox Square Mall now being fitted with metal detectors and canine sniffer dogs, as the mall had become a site for multiple shootings. The city council clearly thinks it's time to put their foot down, with the chair of the Public Safety Committee, Dustin Hills, issuing a statement saying, "I want everyone to go to enjoy the nightlife. However, I want them to be able to return to their house at night and not have to worry." Finally, local business owners fear gentrification. We've mentioned gentrification in the video before, but why is it one of the biggest concerns for local business owners in Atlanta? For one, while Atlanta has a predominantly African-American population, the city has gone through a demographic change from 61% black in 2000 to just under 50% black in 2022. With the racial demographics of the city clearly changing faster than people can handle, gentrification is a very real concern. Corey Felder, a club owner who is also a member of the city's Nightlife Advisory Council, believes that the entire infrastructure of Atlanta's bustling nightlife is being attacked. Essentially, club club owners like Felder believe that the legislation will force them to pay ridiculous amounts of money on the related security requirements, opening up the area to be taken over by glamours, white-owned national chains and businesses, thus putting black business owners out of money. The problem, then, isn't that there isn't going to be nightlife in the city. In a place as happening as Atlanta, you could have a solid nightlife with 3 sparklers and an air horn. The worry instead is a complete erasure of culture. In a city that embodies the history of black art, black businesses, and black ownership, culture is everything, and they believe their culture is very much under threat. That's all the latest news on Atlanta's nightlife troubles in paradise. And now some related news. First up, Atlanta rapper Young Thug fights to get back seized property. Young Thug's been under fire from the Atlanta police for gang-related suspicions since May. The resulting trials and tribulations have been, in 2 words, pretty weird. Thug recently came under fire for, get this, tweeting to Michael Phelps from prison, which was seen as a chargeable offense. The roller coaster ride doesn't end there, with the police recently seizing millions of dollars worth of Thug's possessions over suspicions regarding his involvement in the YSL subset of the gang known as the Bloods. This seizure occurred during the rapper's arrest in May and included $149,426 in currency, several vehicles, including a Corvette and a Porsche, firearms, and multiple pieces of jewelry. Many custom items had YSL engravings, which the police claimed as evidence. The rapper's lawyer, for his part, is fighting pretty hard to help get his stuff back. The lawyer, Brian Steele, claims that the seizure of property was unlawful and that all items stolen were bought by Young Thug through legal means. Basically, he wants the forfeiture statement to be dismissed because of a lack of actual evidence. Moving on, Atlanta police planning new security measures to prep for the World Cup. With the rising crime rates in Atlanta, it's no surprise that the city's security forces are on high alert for the upcoming FIFA World Cup in 2026, especially since Atlanta's hosting part of the prestigious tournament. Football crowds can get pretty wild, so the force is eyeing up German police policies to help figure out how to handle the situation. Andrew Senzer, Atlanta's very own deputy police chief, was part of a delegation that came to Germany to trade ideas with the German police forces. Given how the German police are used to rowdy as heck football crowds, it's no wonder he went there for inspiration. The main issue, according to Senzer, is that U.S. police forces just plain don't have the same kind of access to equipment and resources as the Germans, who were fitted from head to toe with black riot gear, pepper spray, water cannons, and tasers during a mock football stadium transport exercise. If they're looking to use the same kind of equipment, they're really going to need to convince local councils that the funding is worth it. Lastly, Atlanta is still one of the best shows out as it moves into its 4th season. Atlanta is one of the many idea babies of Donald Glover, rapper, singer, producer, and actor extraordinaire. The show has spent 3 seasons exploring the unique experiences associated with life in Atlanta through the eyes of Glover's character, Earn, and has established itself as one of the best black comedies, if not one of the best comedies ever. The 4th season of the show is no different, with many praising it as one of Glover's best artistic works, and a great representation of what the journey of a young black man living in Atlanta is like. The show continued its trademark of pulling no punches when it comes to racial commentary, with an episode dedicating to satirizing the Jennifer incident, which occurred following George Floyd's death, wherein a woman in a wheelchair blocked a store, threatening to stab African Americans on the scene. Well, that's it for today's video. What do you think about the nightclub legislation? Do you think rappers actually care, or are they just part of the gentrification problem? If you liked our content, make sure to like, subscribe, and dive bomb that notification bell.